Good, YouTube? Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis coming to y'all with another rebuilding. Today we gonna talk about the Orlando Magic, a team that has been in, a rebuilding mode since they traded Dwight Howard, and they haven't even came really close to making the playoffs. They've been going through a lot of different draft picks. They've been going through a lot of different coaches. They've been trying to find the identity. They've been trying to find a superstar to, replace what Dwight Howard was. And obviously, they haven't been able to get the number one pick, but they've been pretty bad for the last couple of years. And honestly, even with their draft pick, I don't really see that changing. This team is gonna, even though they play in the East, they're gonna have to find out the identity, what they're trying to accomplish, what direction they're trying to go in, who's gonna be their coach, what system is he gonna play, what players are they gonna keep. Remember, they got rid of Oladipo, they got rid of Tobias, they got rid of Alfred Payton. Um, Aaron Gordon is a free agent. Somebody's going to offer him the max because he's a guy that's a wing that can shoot the three and is athletic, and he's a solid playmaker for right now. But not only that, he has loads of potential. But then you look at it, they got Jonathan Isaac, a guy that has loads of potential and can particularly do the same things in the future that Aaron Gordon can do. But he's going to be on a rookie contract for the next 3 years, and he'll be a restricted free agent at the end of those years, allowing you to re-sign him or just match our offer for him. So I don't really know what they're going to do, but you definitely want to keep a guy like Aaron Gordon. Worst case scenario, you sign him to extension and you trade him to another team so you can get something back. It might take up your cap space for the first couple years, but worst case scenario, you're not using the cap space. You're not going to sign any big name free agents, so why not offer Aaron Gordon a good contract for both sides? Pay him the money that he wants, and just trade him in the future. And that's what we've seen with Victor Oladipo and OKC. They traded for him, gave him the extension, and traded him for Paul George because he was able to, have a good contract. And it was enough money to where they didn't have to really trade as much because the value of his contract, and he had potential. And we said the same thing with Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin got an enormous deal. He was the best player they can get. They couldn't get a big name free agent, and they took him, um, packaged him together, and traded him off to Detroit. And they got some salary cap relief, but they also got some picks, and you can't really get mad at that. And I'd rather get that than get nothing at all, or just cap space. So you get cap space in the pick. So that's a win-win for the Los Angeles Clippers, and I think that's what they might have to do with a guy like Aaron Gordon, but I doubt they trade him because he is so young that you prefer to continue to see how far he can go and what he can develop into. They did do some bad contracts like the Bismack Biyombo. They wanted a rim protector. They wanted an athletic big. He hasn't shown that he can do anything but dunk. He fouls a lot. He doesn't have no offensive game. Um, he's not the best rim protector. Remember, Charlotte gave up on him. He went to Toronto on a cheap deal to fight to stay in the NBA. He had a solid playoff games in Toronto, which warranted him the $17 million that Orlando offered him, and he hasn't lived up to that contract. But I never thought that he would anyway. But obviously, he drew some attention from that play. He drew some hype, and he didn't really live up to it. Mario Hazonia is another guy like Aaron Gordon. He can play. He shows potential. He's only 23. He's 6'8". He can shoot the three. He can create his own shot. Um, but he's just not a consistent offensive player. He's explosive, but he's just not consistent. You can't really bank on him. He's a guy that you got to continue to develop, and he hasn't really shown that much improvement. You can say his numbers got better, but it's just because he got more opportunity, he got more minutes, and like I said, he's gonna be fighting with Jonathan Isaac for that small four, power four wing position with Aaron Gordon. So you're gonna have another guy that you have to pay, but you have other guys you're developing to take that spot. So either you're gonna let Hazonia walk for nothing, or so you can play Jonathan Isaac more, or you're going to try to keep him kind of like keep him to if y'all can agree to a fair deal, and then you have a guy on a good contract with potential that you can package with picks, um, to move up in drafts or move down in drafts or just get salary cap relief and try to get something for him. but I don't really think Mario Hezonja will be in Orlando for very long because you have so many guys that play the same position, like Wesley, Jonathan Simmons, Jonathan Isaac, that is going to play that 3-4 position, and even Aaron Gordon. So I don't think Hazonia will be in Orlando. He was a guy that a lot of people liked. He was a guy that showed a lot of potential before the draft, and people was high on him. But Orlando just haven't been able to develop enough talent, and that's just what it is. They've been able to draft well for those drafts and the positions. Nobody really disagreed about who they picked. Nobody really disagreed about the players that was at that position. They didn't do no reaches. They didn't do no out of some crazy drafts. They drafted some solid players at the position that they took them, but they never really developed into anything more than just a role player. And that's what's really been hurting Orlando, is that they've been drafting the right players according to the mock drafts, but they haven't been able to turn into anything significant or make that big of a difference. And that's the thing that really been hurting them, is that they've been drafting high in the draft, but they haven't been able to develop the talent into the stars and the superstars that they need them to be. And after Vucevic and Aaron Gordon, who's been showing potential, those are the only two players that really showed potential. Because even when Victor Oladipo was in Orlando, I think his highest season was 17 points a game, and then the next year he went back down to earth. So he didn't even show superstar potential in Orlando. He showed it like he can play, but he never showed that he'd be what he is in Indiana, because he got with a better trainer. He changed his diet. He put more work in, and now he became one of the better players in the league. And he didn't do that in Orlando. They wasn't pushing him to do that. He didn't even think about doing it because he was in there for years and he had never had the season that he's having now. So I think that you really got to look at the coaching staff. You got to really look at the development staff and start wondering, why aren't our young players that we're drafting in this top 7 not becoming the players that everybody envisioned them when they're drafted? Because Tobias has had great seasons now since leaving Orlando. Alfred Payton had his career season leaving to Phoenix. So you got to definitely look at that, and you definitely got to take accountability. How come the players we're drafting consistently haven't really panned out, whether they're top 5 or higher? Why aren't they not? Why are they not working out? And you gotta look at that. Orlando is a beautiful place to live. It has beautiful weather. But one thing you gotta consider is, why is we stuck in the same position for years? You got to start looking in the mirror and start wondering, what are we doing wrong to we're not getting the best out of these players. And I think losing really doesn't hurt. I mean, losing really does hurt. Not having a coach that has the system to utilize the talent of this team, not having consistency in those areas. You're changing too much, you're doing too much, you're drafting too much, but you're not getting the players the minutes. You're not giving them opportunity. Like Mario Hezonja, this like really the first season that he really got a chance to play and show what he can do. And to me, he's going to be going off this team by next year. I mean, by the start of the year. So what is they really accomplishing with these draft picks? And people said they should draft Trae Young. I don't think that, because he's a guy that don't have enough potential personally to me at that 6th position. You look at a guy like Luka Doncic, you look at a guy like Michael Porter, you look at a guy at worst, Wendell Carter, and these players have more potential to have an impact in the future and now on the roster, and they don't have high bust potential. Like Wendell Carter don't have high bust potential. Even a safer pick like College Sexton, he looks like a guy that can come in and he can give you some stuff right away. But do he have that superstar potential? He kind of remind me a little bit of an Alfred Payton, a guy that at worst can be a solid starter, at worst can be a backup point guard, but you don't want to draft that type of player at that 6th position. Trae Young is a guy that can't really defend. They got enough players like that. Yes, it'll be a nice backcourt with him and Evan Fournier because they both can shoot, and he can really take over games. But Trae Young really struggled defensively. He really struggled offensively, and the players players are more bigger, more athletic, and more physical in the NBA. So his job only gonna get harder. Yes, he is a hard worker, but he is limited. He's only 180. He's only 5'11". He struggled in college, and it only gets more difficult in the NBA because the talent and the coaches and the scouting is better. So I think that's a player that at that sixth position that has high bust potential. So if, I definitely would try to take a guy like Michael Porter. Even though you have players like Isaac, like Gordon, at that position, that'd be like drafting best talent available. But if I really had to pick a pick for them, I'd pick that Wendell Carter. They need somebody physical. They need somebody big. They need somebody that can give them that size with Vucevic because it ain't Bizback Biombo. Doncic's not gonna fall low enough. Bamba, he can come in and give you some great potential, but you still don't have really a point guard to get the best out of him, unless they can sign one in free agency or find one later in the draft. They need help and they need a lot of talent to save this roster. But even with that 35th pick, they have a guy like Tony Carr that can help. They have a point guard they can draft later in the draft in Trevon Duval. They have that 41st pick to still get Bruce Brown at that shooting guard position, or even a power forward like Eliza Johnson, or another guard in Grayson Allen, or they can even go big and trade down in a draft and get a Brandon McCoy or a Austin Wiley, or even the guy out of USC, the 6'10", 220 Chimize, whatever his name is. They can trade down in this draft. They can trade up. They can package more talent like Mario Hazonia, some picks, and move up to get a Doncic, to get a Bagley, to get a Jaren Jackson, to get a Bamba, or even try to get that number one pick. Remember, Dallas, for example, I don't see them keeping their pick because they're trying to win now. They're trying to speed up the rebuilding process. So if I can get a Hazonia, if I can get a Jonathan Isaac and a couple picks, I'll trade it. And if you're looking at Phoenix, I can see them wanting to get rid of that pick because they have a lot of bigs. They need more talent. And even if you get more picks, you can fill out, you're supposed to have a scouting crew. You can fill out the rest of your roster throughout the draft, or even just trade up or trade down a little couple spots, get the player you want, kind of like what Boston did. They traded, down to get the guy they wanted, but they got more picks and they got a good pick because they still was able to get Jason Tatum. So I can see teams like Dallas. I can see teams like Atlanta. They don't have no direction. They don't have no identity. They might not be sold on a particular player, and they want to move down a little bit in the draft to accumulate more picks to fill out their roster with more young talent that they can scout and develop and potentially help them come up in the future with young players. And Orlando, let's be real, they're not going to get a big name free agent. They do have the cap space, but who can they really get? Who really wants to go to Orlando and be part of a rebuilding team? I don't really see too many players in that top 20 players available that really want to go to Orlando unless they really like giving Aaron Gordon a lot of money, or trying to get somebody like Jabari Parker by offering him a contract that the Bucks don't want to pay. Other than that, I don't really see no unrestricted free agents wanting to go to Orlando and rebuild with them. They're in a sticky situation because they have they have a bad organization. They've been bad for years. They need a superstar desperately, but when you can't get to free agents and you can't hit in the draft, it's so hard to get back on the right course and in the right direction when you having so much dysfunction with the drafts, and not being able to sign big name free agents to come. So they're in a bad spot. Orlando fans, they will get better. Remember, y'all didn't think y'all be good. Y'all got Dwight Howard. Y'all had Shaq. Y'all drafted these players. Y'all made it to the finals both times with these players. It's going to take some grueling seasons. It's going to take some headaches. It's going to take some ups and downs. But you got to stay as a fan. You got to continue to believe that y'all going to get it right. Nobody expected Dwight Howard to lead them to the finals until he finally got there and even beat LeBron to get there. So you just got to stay the course. You got to be loyal. You got to ride for this team if you're still a real Orlando fan, not a bandwagon Orlando fan. And at the end of the day, y'all had bad season. But remember, the Minnesota Timberwolves, They was bad for 14 years before they got Towns, Wiggins, and Zach LaVine, which turned into Jimmy Butler, which helped them make the playoffs. So you got to be patient. You got to be loyal. There's going to be some ups, some downs, some ugliness. But eventually Orlando will finally get it right when they get that player. Like I said, to me, if they can't really trade up in the draft, they're not going to find that player at the sixth and below. Personally, to me, we never know. But I don't really see it in this draft for this particular team with the talent that they have in the positions they already give a lot of minutes to other players too, unless this person become a diamond in the rough where you draft them later or high in the draft and they just have that work ethic that they really want to be better and they got them chips on their shoulder that they want to prove people. But even those players are hard to find, and you have to have the right minutes for them, the right coach for them, and you have to be developing and helping them along the way. And that's something that Orlando hasn't really been doing over the course of these years. But Aaron Gordon is starting to show potential. But look how long it took for him to get here. Check out my website at NosisPlayground.com. Link in the description in the comment section below. Check out my Facebook page at NosisPlayground.com. Link in the description in the comment section below. And let me know if you guys think Orlando will finally get it right, or do you think they're going to be rebuilding for a couple more years in the comment section below.